Circuitbreaker.com.
Good morning, LinkedIners. I hope you like my background here. Oh, I turn the volume down here. Hope you like my background here. This is a picture that I took from the Salmon River Basin. I took my kids, down on the Salmon River. Oh, it was 2 or 3 years ago. But a little better background maybe this time from what maybe you're used to seeing. I got my, I don't have my heart chakra in the background. But so today's live feed, I've been really excited to give you guys this message. This is something I've been really anxious to teach about, and this has more to do with energy and your environment and making sure that you're providing the right energy to it. But I also want to take the time to say thanks to everybody that showed up for this, or I didn't get through my whole list of contacts to invite all of you to this, but I am very grateful for all of you guys. And I know that sounds a little bit cliche, but I honestly am. I am very grateful for all these relationships that I've had on LinkedIn. All of you guys are so amazing, and everyone is so different, including me, right? I'm different. And it's just such a pleasure to meet with so many different people and to see what all of you are offering. It's been pretty awesome. I hope, that's going to just grow, right? You just keep meeting more people, and you vibrate with different people at different times for different reasons. But to get started here, I thought about how I was going to present this, and I thought, the best way to do this is just to tell a story. And I've told some of you guys, this story, but I'm not sure if I've ever done a live and told this entire story. And there's parts of this story that I probably have never told. So, if you don't have time to make it to the end of this, I'm going to make sure that I'm paying attention to comments too. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and throw it in there. I'll try and answer it as I go along. But, if you have time, if you can't watch the whole thing, come back and watch the end, because the end and the way that to live life in a free way where you have no tension and you're just manifesting everything that you need. There's a lot of tools that the public tries to sell you on how to do that, right? I mean, we're constantly getting hit over and over with manifestation tools. But the reality is it really doesn't have anything to do with money. And I know that's in the title, and as businessmen and businesswomen, you're always focused on revenue. But the reality is the energy that you put out there is what you get back, and the underlying reality is what's actually creates everything that we see in the physical reality. And if we concentrate on the energy that we're putting out there, that's what dictates what we see that we get back. So I'll get started. So as some of you know, I was an electrician for years and years and years. And since 2010, I worked for Grant County PUD, which is one of the main utilities in central Washington. Big public utility, the biggest public utility that owns dams on the Columbia River. And those three utilities, Grant County, Douglas County, and I still can't remember the other county. Forgive me. I'll look it up here someday and maybe post it on a post here on LinkedIn. But they have the cheapest power in the nation, and I learned a lot working with those people there. A lot of things, what to do and what not to do. Right? It doesn't matter what culture you're working in. You learn a lot of what works and what doesn't work. And so, in 2015, there was a lot of conflict going on in the team that I was working in. And I kind of stayed out of it. I've always understood that, my role is always, and anyone's role is always best to support the people around you. And I was doing my best to do that without getting in a state of conflict. And that charge built up over time, the energy built up between those relationships, and it ended up resulting in a major accident. And in the end of 2015, in October of 2015, 6 of the guys that I worked with were very badly burned and were rushed to Harborview Medical Center in Seattle. I think it was October 8th, if I remember right, of 2015. And so it was a big thing that happened to us as a group and to me, because I was the only one left in that team to come back and work in that environment. And so the dysfunction that I saw that happened around that happened within the business itself and moving forward was something that I became extremely compassionate about, because nobody was really addressing the underlying reality of why that happened. You know, a lot of people looked at external things, as far as, you know, oh, you know, we didn't communicate here right. This person didn't take this step, you know, on a safety procedure. But nobody was really looking at the underlying reality of why those things happen. And our lack of respect and our lack of love for one another is really, you know, the cause for any accident, or, you know, that what you're putting out there always ends up coming back. And so if you're constantly at war with your environment, it will be at war with you. This is just a basic tenet of basic karma, right? Karma is trying to teach you that lesson, but people don't understand it at a very basic level. And so at first, you know, my idea was to just create a decentralized decision-making platform to make sure that people understood that they just needed to work together and make decisions together as a group, right? And listen to each other and support each other. But as I moved forward as that part of my business last year, I realized that really wasn't solving and educating people as far as the really underlying issues of what was going on. And my own personal growth process walked hand in hand with that. And so what I learned to do over the next year and a half, you know, well, it's been almost 2 years now since I quit that job, is, you know, you get up every morning and for a long time, I would negate negative energy. And so, you know, 'cause you get up thinking, it's like, okay, what am I going to get out? How can I provide service, and how am I going to support myself and my family, you know, through this process? And so every entrepreneur goes through this, right? You know, when you're first starting out, and especially if you have a new idea, you're not making any income, right? You're just out there. Now you might be able to work a part-time job, but working a part-time job oftentimes doesn't prepare you for really getting in there and just getting the work done, right? Because you're trying to focus your attention in two different ways, and it just doesn't ever work. So most of my time, you know, and I remember spending days about a year, 12 months ago, where all I would do is just meditate and trying to eliminate negative energy. And all of us are magnets, you know, whether we realize it or not. We are all a magnet, but that's our feminine quality, and our masculine quality is, you know, the information that you're putting out during the day. And so, you know, if you guys have been following me on LinkedIn for a while, I did a State of Reality series last year called Circuit Breaker, where I go through the state of reality and how everything's made up, and how we're all just conductors of energy and information. And so our field expands and contracts in that, you know, in that order, you know, where when you're expanding, you're kind of in your feminine energy, taking in and listening to what's needed. And then when your field collapses, like my field is collapsing right now because I'm expending information and energy to you all, then that's how you're providing for your environment. And I learned to balance that over time. And finally, you know, by the beginning of this year, you know, I wrote a book over the wintertime, and I always felt like the book was incomplete. And so I really didn't push to finish that book until just recently. And I'm almost done with the last chapter. I'll be done with it, I think, later today. I just have a couple of bullet points, and I'm gonna go back through it and edit it. But you're always going through that process, and your ability to listen gets greater and greater as you're eliminating fears and anxiety and negative energy. And what you're doing is you're just creating a more efficient conductor for what's needed for both the people around you and let's say the business world at large. Let's say, when I think about you guys, in a meditative state, you'll just get downloads and ideas will pop in as far as what that community needs. And I don't think this process isn't just for me. This is how the state of reality works. And so last weekend I was taking some time off, and I was on my way to my brother's place. He needed some stuff done for him. And I stopped in Leavenworth, which is over Stevens Pass, Highway 2 going from Wenatchee to the Seattle area. I think Highway 2 ends up in Monroe, and then you head south from there if you want to go to the Seattle area. But I took a dive in the Wenatchee River, and it's super cold, and I just doing that and thinking about that experience, I've never had a lower reaction to cold water than I have ever had in my life. Because when you're constantly in a meditative state, you're not judging anything around you, and so you stay detached as far as any kind of outcome, if that makes sense. So you hop in the river and you just get this feeling of cold, but it doesn't feel cold, if that makes sense. Morphine does the same thing. I was talking to my brother about this subject, and he was a pararescueman in the Air Force. And when they all took the same medicines that they were going to administer. And so he says during one of their training sessions, they all took morphine, and then they took long needles about this long and stabbed them through their thigh. Because to evaluate how your mind works, and what morphine does is you don't lose the feeling of the pain, but your body stops reacting the same way it does when you're completely sober, if that makes sense. But when you master a meditative state, you're no longer reacting as much, and kind of you're becoming a conductor and providing for what's around you, if that makes sense. And so mastering that energy where it enables you to listen a lot better, right? When people are talking to you, you can listen to what they need a lot better. And it also helps you view the world at large and the problem at large a lot easier, because you're much more sensitive to the energy around you. It's an evolutionary process that keeps going and going and going. And I think, when you look at the spiritual community and the spiritual teachers that we have now, that's become more readily apparent, right? Higher states of awareness enable you to serve the body better around you. And so the way that you're serving each other and the energy that you're putting into each other without any negative connotations, because it doesn't matter where someone's at, everyone's in some level of growth. We're all just a growing awareness, right? So when you're staying in non-judgment and non-attachment through every single relationship, both close to you and extended, you're able to support it. You're not at war with anything anymore. You're no longer in conflict. And so your power to manifest also grows. And so the universe will use you in ways that where you become a conductor for what someone needs. And so you're always supported. That's the true underlying reality. And then you create a balance where you are constantly in a state of listening and receiving and then providing, if that makes sense, right? So when you're providing for somebody, a lot of times, they might be giving you an equal exchange of energy in the form of money or just their time, right? This is one thing that I learned before I quit my job. Money is something that's easy to make, right? All of us can go make money doing, I could sell whatever just to make money. But the reality is the only thing that really matters is the time that I spend with you guys, right? I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have. If you come to me and ask for help, I become a conductor, and it means that you are supposed to. It means that I am supposed to serve you in whatever way I can. Now that doesn't mean any of us should be letting other people take advantage of us, right? I mean, it's somebody with $500 million comes to you and asks you to do something for free. You say, well, obviously we need an equal exchange of energy here, right? But think about that in your own lives. There's so many people that are suffering out there, especially in the third world community right now. There are a lot of families struggling. I've had a lot of different organizations reach out to me since I've been on LinkedIn, and some of them are real, some of them are fake. I'm sure you guys know a lot of the history behind a lot of that. You guys get approached, I'm sure, in a lot of different ways. But there are real people that are suffering out there, and they're trying to find solutions in ways to create communities where they're serving each other and just growing food that they can have to eat. And I'm very passionate about those projects. Anything that is supporting people that understand that all they need to do is to just travel forward in faith. And as long as you're not thinking negatively, because your thoughts really do manifest your reality. And in order to live a life of freedom, you really have to master your own energy. And if you're always in a meditative state, you will call in the things that need you, right? The relationships in your business community around you, it doesn't matter whether it's personal development or structural development, and those listening skills that I mastered over last year is what created the contract that I built over the wintertime. And so, as far as a structure for a business goes, it's a conductor, just like we are conductor. And so if you can create the right structure for that business, you can create a excellent conductor to move as more energy as possible and eliminate all those stress points that we see in today's society. Because stress within your body will create a poor conductor, and you won't attract what you want to attract. Same thing has happened in the business community, right? You see all these stress points within those businesses, and so it's not attracting employees. Employees are leaving those businesses because that stress within that business is not attracting anything anymore, right? And it's not moving the energy that it needs to. I hope this makes sense for you guys, and I'm here to serve you guys in whatever way I can. And when I was meditating last weekend, this is the message that I heard that I needed to let you guys know. How to master your reality, right? Master your own reality. Master yourself. And your own self-awareness will enable you to serve the people around you, because the energy you put out there is what you get back. And your manifestation powers will grow exponentially, right? Because if you no longer have any negative thought patterns in your biofield during the day, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this. I never did before, I would say 6 months ago. Because, even if you're going through that process and you're taking time to meditate every morning, most of the time all of us have some kind of negative thought pattern that'll show up. But when you master yourself to the point where you can literally create a switch internally and immediately switch it off, and there's no dragged out negative thought pattern, then you start to manifest things that you didn't even think were possible. And the money all of a sudden seems like, why was I worried about that at all? Because that really has nothing to do with the underlying reality. Because the underlying reality is how you are providing for your environment and how you're showing love for the people around you and you guys, the business community, right? And that's what creates trust, right? Is how much love that you show for the people around you and the people that you want to establish really good relations with. So I hope this was beneficial for you guys. I really wanted to focus on just giving a short talk here this morning and telling just this short story of my own journey and how all it is a journey of love, right? All of us are just, as long as you're walking forward in faith and love, you'll see that your faith will progress to a point where it will be completely unstoppable, because all you're doing is showing love for the people around you. And you'll realize that is what creates the faith. if you have faith in something that, like some kind of material thing, it's really not, things come and go. But I realized that it doesn't matter how much money I'm making or not making, I'm still going to be doing the same thing. You're still going to be becoming a conductor for the divine and the conductor for what people need, because the source of everything is right here. It's right in the center of your chest. And in the beginning was the Word, right? So, love you guys. Have a happy Thursday. I hope this was beneficial for you guys. It was beneficial for me, right? And I haven't seen any comments here, so I'll wait to hear from you guys. If you guys thought this was beneficial, hope it was. Have a great day.